Ruthless, Rabid, Raging, Ravenous, Rampaging, Remorseless, Repulsive, Revolting, Repugnant zombies. We are in the home stretch. All right. 2 more days worth of work, whether I like it or not. Of course I like it. Who wouldn't want to write the greatest zombie story ever told? All right. There's still potential. I could still wrap it up strong is what I'm saying. All right. The chapter 21 was kind of short, and then we barely started into chapter 22, so I think the best way to ease back into this is to go through those chapters, and it kind of gives us an idea of where we are with poor Waldo. All right, so chapter 21 begins. Waldo screamed in pain as the zombie's teeth ground against the bones in his arm. He slashed with his new... Why do I keep writing new that way? I thought I fixed that. With his new favorite weapon and cleaved the monster's head along with its brain. Did I not save something? I'd hate to... No, that's right. Okay. I'll just keep making the same mistakes over again is what it amounts to. I thought I'd lost some story there. He slashed with his new favorite weapon and cleaved the monster's head along with its brain. The zombie collapsed, but its teeth remained locked as it brought Waldo down to the metal decking. He tried to wrench his arm free from those teeth buried in his flesh, but the sickening pain was too much. Blood welled from both sides of his arm, painting the corpse's lips and trickling down its lifeless throat. Waldo had to use one of the blades to pry the teeth apart. Several teeth on one side cracked, and then, cracked to the gray roots. And then the lower jaw broke loose. Waldo had to pull his bleeding arm away from the teeth. No, let's not pull. Had to extract his bleeding arm away from the teeth punctured in his flesh, one by one. The process reminded him of a stuck zipper. No, it reminded him of flesh stuck in a zipper. Let's say tender flesh. Again, my goal today is 47,500, and I'm going to try to make it just by adding to these sentences. I already went a little 500 over my goal yesterday, so we're pretty much trying to finish up the rest of the story in 2 chunks, one for today and one for tomorrow, and that should get us to 50,000 and get us done with the story, and that's the main goal. All right, gory strings trailed from his wounded arm into the mangled face. He cried out and clutched his arm against his chest. He opened and closed his fist several times, watching the crescent of wounds ooze as they slowly clotted. I still have not spelled that correctly. Okay, what's a clot? There's a clot, right? That's clot. So 2 T's would be clotted. All right, so why didn't that work yesterday? I don't know. All right. Learning to spell with J. Wilburn. Waldo punched the corpse's face. He punched again and again. It was already pretty badly broken up, so it didn't take long for Waldo to batter the thing apart from anything resembling a face. The remaining zombies growled over the top of him on the moving truck. Waldo stood and swung the blade through every last one of them. Oh, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Saw you over in Armand's chat earlier. All right, so it didn't take long for Waldo to batter the face. The remaining zombie growled over the top of him on the moving truck. Waldo stood and swung the blade through every last one of them, destroying their brains. He looked upon the lovely weapon and just let it fall to the decking with a crash. Waldo paced up to the platform behind the truck's cab. The saws had stopped. It looked like she found the off switch, let's say off button, for what that was worth. Okay, just put a comma there. It'll be easier to read. He climbed up on top and crawled forward to the open hatch. She glanced up at him and then back to the road ahead. They were making good time through the city. You okay up there, Bloodfist? The zombie hands still held onto the steering wheel as she drove them along. That made him think of the teeth that had stayed locked on his arm. Okay. He held his arm down through the hatch and turned it to give her a better view. Lexus glanced at it, and her eyes went wide. She afforded him a quick look. Before returning her attention to the road ahead. The grill over the front of the cab wasn't the easiest to see through. She had seen all she needed to of his arm, apparently. Okay. To know what the situation was. This sort of thing hardly needed explaining anymore. He pulled his arm out of the hatch to avoid bleeding on the seat. Waldo took off his pack and held it down inside the hatch, let's say with his good arm. He said, okay, hold on, I need to put this together. He said, they're good people. They need this. Take exit 14 off the parkway. Turn left under the overpass. Take a right at the billboard for Naked Kitty. Follow the signs to the campground. It should be clear enough for you to drive the whole way. I don't know what the whole way is. The whole way once you leave the parkway. Tell them this is from Waldo, and they'll let you in. They'll give you whatever you want. All right. Just get in here, she said without looking up. He still held the pack with his good arm. I can't. I'm dangerous. You know that. She laughed. She actually laughed at him. He was too shocked and wrung out from everything he went through today, up to and including finally being bitten by one of the zombies. He was too shocked, let's say and run out. I need to fix that. He was too shocked and wrung out from everything he went through today, up to and including finally being bitten by one of the zombies, to be pissed about being mocked like this. I'm sorry you're bitten, I really am, but I can handle it. You won't hurt me. Get in here and finish the job with me. Lexus, see it through. She cut him off. All right, there we go. All right. He climbed in with the pack and closed the hatch. Waldo wanted to protest some more, but he was so very weary of fighting. He stared out his window instead. Put a comma there. As city buildings gave way to crumbling neighborhood houses. All those people were dead. Some of them still walked around. He was about to join them if he didn't do something about it soon. Alright. It's dumb to stick with me, he finally said. You're kind of dumb. He expected her to point out that he was the dumb one for getting bitten, but she didn't. Lexis spoke quietly, which forced him to look at her lips to understand what she was saying. You want to know the real reason I slipped through the fence to find you, she asked. She went on without him answering. I watched you all day, through all that shit, and you never gave up. Every single one of those zombies was a person who gave up or lost the fight. Waldo sniffed and waved his hand. Let's say good hand at the bite mark on his arm. Each puncture was swelling hot and red around the edges. Bright lines of infection crawled up past his elbow already. Lexis went on. It's tough to find anyone that cares that much about anything. You brought that pack this far. We're going to get it the rest of the way, and then we'll deal with everything else later. Everything else was the big problem now, though. She kept her eyes forward as she drove onward. That was the end of the discussion. That was the end of the discussion. That was the end of the discussion on her part. As if that settled every open question. As she eased the vehicle along an on-ramp, she said, "Put your pack back on, Waldo." He did as he was told. Alright, beginning chapter 22. Things got a little dicey maneuvering onto the parkway itself, but Waldo didn't have to get back on top to clear any more zombies along the sides. That was a good thing because he already felt feverish, and a blackness spread through the veins leading out from his bite wound. Let's say, tracing his vascular system with creeping death. Alright. How are you feeling? She asked. He looked up from the from the abstract art of turning the abstract art of, let's say, his flesh turning zombie. He blinked a couple times. Good. He clicked his tongue. And you, kiddo? Alright, I'll put a question mark there. Moving right along. You know what I mean. Fever already, he said, still staring out let's say he wasn't staring out the window before, so let's have him stare out the window now. Fever already, he said, staring out the window at some fallow pasture land between rising hills. Say a single zombie in overalls wandered through the grass inside a paddock of barbed wire. Pain is starting to go away, feeling numb all over. I know that's a bad sign. It is, she agreed with her eyes on the road that was starting to wind through bigger hills with misty tree-covered mountains ahead. Let's say still a ways. No, let's not do a period there. Still a ways to go. And time was ticking away fast. Say quick for him. Waldo turned his arm carefully to inspect, let's say reinspect, ugly green bruises on all sides. He moved the rags of his shirt to show that discoloration traveling over his chest as well. He took a deep breath and said, when it happens. Waldo swallowed a couple times on a dry throat. She answered by pulling out a gun that she had taken off the guy who called her Lexus and had threatened her. Let's say, back at the Marauders. I'll spell Marauders correctly. Back at the Marauders. The Marauders territory. We never really got a name for their place, did we? May have to make something up. He was long dead, and she was still unbitten, so that was something. Once you go out, she declared, I won't let you turn. She stowed the gun away from sight again. Alright. So that was that, he supposed. Alright. Now let's see how Waldo finishes out his adventure here. Maybe he'll go strong. No, that couldn't be the end of it. He shook his head in negation. It brought pain and dizziness through his skull. He didn't like it, but it was good to still feel something. A taste was building up in his mouth and on his breath that he didn't like. Waldo turned his head as he spoke so that maybe she wouldn't smell it. But of course, he was covered in so much zombie gore, he probably couldn't smell any worse. Right. Why not now? Lexus. Why not take the stuff to them yourself after you finish with me? Okay, let's put a question mark there. You're doing it anyway now, especially if I turn before we get there. I want to see you get a win today, Waldo. They met eyes. She shrugged and watched the road as they wheeled through the they met eyes. Okay. They met eyes. She shrugged and watched the road as they wheeled through the steep turns. Some of that started to level out, but there was still a steep drop-off on the driver's side. All right, moving along. All right. She steered away and crossed lanes to move. She steered away and crossed lanes as a long section of guardrail was missing from the eroded shoulder of the road. She veered again to avoid a pothole full of enough standing water to bathe in. All right. As they straddled the faded center line between these trouble spots, Waldo said, the road crew out here has really fallen down on the, right, let's do a M dash and close exclamation, and then we pay. All right. The street crumbled under the driver's side. And a healthy block of earth fell whole from the side of the mountain. She swerved hard away. She swerved hard away from the landslide to avoid becoming part of it. The heavy truck, with all its welded nonsense, bottomed out through the edge of that pothole with a splash. Lexus stayed calm as she tried to center the wheel. But Waldo kept breathing out the F word over and over. Yeah, we'll just stop there. I was going to say under his breath, but I've already said breathing out, so I have to pick one or the other. I'm going to keep breathing out. All right, the street crumbled, swung wide from the drop-off. The road crumbled some more, and she had to swerve again. This time, the passenger side wheels, ran up the near sheer rock wall. Rock wall to their right. Waldo braced himself for crashing back down onto those wheels. But the entire vehicle tipped over onto its side instead. All right, the metal attachments of zombie plows. Okay, what did I do here? I misspelled attachments. The metal attachments of zombie plows and sweeping blades broke away and tumbled wild through the street behind them, through the road behind them, as they slid. The rest of the bundled razor wire. Nope, that's not how you spell that. The rest of the bundled razor wire tore loose as sparks followed the overturned truck's path in a bright halo. All right. Say the grills over the windows. Folded and split sharp, but didn't break away. The frames of the cab bent. One door tore clean off. truck bound up against the mountain, and the engine block pushed in toward them. Alright, we'll break it there. So we're looking at chapter 23 now. I know I'm doing shorter chapters now, but these seem like logical places to break. Alright, so where does this truck go? As the mountainside, the stony mountainside wall tore away the front of the truck. The vehicle twisted. The vehicle twisted as it slid on its side, and the back folded and rolled up the existing guardrail. On that side. Rocks and dirt continued to crumble and cascade away from that compromised edge into the deep gorge below. All right. Nothing like a truck crash to liven up a zombie story. All right, looking good. Let's keep going. Finally, it all stopped. The dash pressed to within inches of where both of them held on. But didn't crush them. The steering column had missed taking off her shoulder by inches at most. Most of her door, I've already said most, much of her door had crumpled against the street, against the scarred asphalt. They had avoided being peeled up into road rash. Maybe not much to celebrate, considering what Waldo had coming in his near future, but he still breathed out a sigh anyway. Lexus kicked the top hatch open and and they crawled out into the road. She helped adjust the pack so he could get out with it, still on his back. Kedman, crazy day today. Thank you for being here, buddy. Appreciate it. All right. Good to see you dropping in. I know it's evening over over where you are. All right. Actually, 4 o'clock. You're close. You're in your nighttime now. You're staying up late for us, I guess. Appreciate you dropping by, though. Hope your day went well, even if it was crazy. She helped adjust the pack so he could get out with it still on his back. Her scalp was bleeding. He reached for the wound, but she pulled away. That was probably for the best. All right. Lexus held up her hands. Sorry. No offense. He shook his head and felt no pain from any of his injuries. None taken. Okay, let me get a quotation there. None taken. Waldo took a moment to swing the pack around and unzip it. He felt through everything inside and saw nothing damaged. Another sigh. Still good. Lexus walked up and down the road where the truck lay, completely across. Hold on, I see your message. I'll get there just a second. Lay completely across from the mountain, from the mountainside, mountain wall, to the edge of the drop where it extended. Let's say where the wreck extended out and over by a few feet. All right. Went up 4:55. Got up at 4:55. Went to work at 5:30. Came back home at 5:30 after stopping in traffic and bus and drove slow in part way due to traffic jams. Felt so tired as someone was hitting me in the back of the head. Home. Went to bed, and now I just woke up from this long power nap. Well, there's nothing better than a power nap. Even if you don't wake up feeling rested, just the fact that you can take one is is good, especially after you've had a rough day. Yes, lots of things don't cooperate. Okay. You think you can get it working again? He asked. She stared at him, and he smiled back. We start walking, she said. Okay. The plinking and popping, sound of hands hitting the underside of the vehicle built up. So no update today, but hopefully tomorrow. That's all right, man. That's all right. Give yourself a break. Give yourself a break. And tomorrow's always a new day, so hopefully a few of those troubles will work themselves out there. The plinking and popping sound of hands hitting the underside of the vehicle built up. Growls echoed through the mountains as the frustrated zombies found no way around. I'm not sure I can walk. You can and you will, she said. I might be capable now, but I'm going to go pretty quickly. I can already feel myself slipping away. She shrugged and said, well, now is all we have to worry about. So you'll walk for now. Waldo tended to disagree. That now was his only worry. But he needed her to take the pack and its contents the rest of the way after he fell. He needed to stay on her good side until then. Okay. The zombies started falling off the mountain as they tried to walk around the solid barrier of the overturned truck. Without fear, they slammed, tumbled, twisted They slammed, tumbled, twisted, and followed one another down the steep slope into the deep reaches of the hollows far below. None of them learned. They kept falling one after the other, raising clouds of dust on the winds swirling up the mountain. I'll be in good company soon, Waldo said. Waldo muttered. Alright. Started falling down the mountain. As they started their hike away from the wreckage, they drifted. Okay, let me spell wreckage correctly. From the wreckage, they drifted toward the remaining guardrail and peeked over at the trail of zombies tumbling down and down. A glint of light caught Waldo's attention. That was the double-bladed weapon he had enjoyed so much for a short time. It perched on a bluff down there that the zombies kept missing. Such a waste. But he wasn't going to be needing it. Alright, a lot going on. Kedman says, should I jump on the Wheel of Time hype on Amazon? Seen the trailer, it looks pretty impressive. I've heard good things from people who are fans of the show. And Starborn Striker is rating with a party of 11. Good grief. Thank you so much for dropping in. Any of you that want to hang around and watch me write a zombie story, I appreciate it. And if you got other things to do, I understand too. Hello. A striker raid from the stars. Excellent. Appreciate you guys being here. Means a lot. Hang out as long as you like, and whatever else you got going on today, have a good time, and I appreciate you dropping by when you could. All right. Oh, thank you for the follow, Emperor. I appreciate that so much. And all those stars, thanks so much. Always encouraging. Good support of the writing community, too. I appreciate it so much. All right, looked over the side. I just finished up writing session myself. Were you doing... oh, thank you for the follow, Starborn. You doing NaNoWriMo or just your regular writing schedule? Thank you for the power, Kedman. Thank you for the power. All right. Waldo cut his eyes over his shoulder before committing his attention forward and his efforts into one foot in front of the other. Alright. Starborn, little of both, honestly. I'm working on an epic fantasy novel that takes place in the modern day. It's also my Nano project. If it's epic fantasy, I'm guessing that it's hard to wrap that up in 50,000 words, so you're probably committing to something much, much bigger than a minimum novel that a lot of people do for Nano. My silly little zombie story can be done in 50,000 words easy. Alright. Waldo cut his eyes over his shoulder. Alright. That should stop the bandit traffic for a while. Alright. Yes, I am already past 50k and still have lots to go. That's the price of epic fantasy, but I love it. I think I spotted 80k. There you go. Yeah, 100k novels used to be typical. That used to be kind of the middle benchmark for a lot of genres. But if you're doing epic fantasy, you got a cast of characters, you got world building, you got kingdoms to rise and fall. There's a lot to stars at Stardom. There's a lot to cover. People who do it well, I'm very impressed with epic fantasies, because you got a lot. You got a lot of things to tie together and keep going. Of course, if they're done well, it's worth all those words. It's the kind of story you want to keep going forever. Yeah, I expect some of it to get snipped during edits, but it takes a lot of words to get through the story. Yeah. All the best writers can cut things away too when they realize they need to go in the edit process. That's usually what makes a good book too. He'll say less traffic to and from the city this way. Alright, Kedman says, what do you guys think? Is it worth to start watching Amazon's Wheel of Time? Still sour after Game of Thrones last season, which was a disaster. I've heard good things about Wheel of Time. Now, of course, there's a lot of people that say it moves slowly and that kind of thing, but fans of the books that I've heard talking about it, I read the books a long time ago, but haven't seen the adaptation again, the new adaptation yet. But they said it's pretty true to the books. The characters are the characters are what they're looking for and that kind of thing. So probably matching the tone of the books a little bit may have made it seem slow to some. Weird says, I'm a misfit. Wicked Artificer is only 85k so far, but it's a light novel, which is overkill since they average 60k, I think. Well, there you go. You kind of have to just find your niche and what your audience wants from you, and then of course the kind of books you want to write and the people who want to read them. I've over the career I've tended to write longer. I've tried to become more concise, I think, as time goes on. Certain stories benefit from brevity, and others do well if everything's fleshed out pretty well. Okay. Not for as long as you might think, Lexus said. She wasn't driving anymore, of course, but she kept her eyes fixed forward anyway. Alright. I try not to worry too much about word counts, but I also don't want to let myself ramble on with unimportant stuff. I try to keep it sleek, that's good. But then she only managed to get to second level. She's competent enough to hit 20 more novels. Yeah, that's probably best. I backed off of word counts. Of course, if you're submitting to markets and stuff, you got to pay attention to that a little bit more. But just in terms of me being able to create story, I found that word counts don't do well for me, which of course makes Nano really outside my comfort zone for the most part. But I find I do better if I'm not tracking word counts or keeping up with that kind of stuff. So this month is always kind of scramble my brain a little bit. Kevin said, "Told Jay I didn't update. We'll write tomorrow or later today. Couldn't stop thinking about the plot during work." Well, that's good if you're excited about the story, even if you're not up to writing today. And big thanks for Jay to let me get my thumps from to write again. I was excited. I enjoyed watching you. It looks like, of course, I don't speak Swedish, so I couldn't read what you were writing exactly. But it was cool to see you create. And keep it up. If you need a rest day today, you can jump back in tomorrow. Okay. Waldo motioned at her side and lifted his bitten arm as if she might have forgotten his situation. Alright. Go ahead and do it now. I can tell I'm not going to make it very far. Alright. Kevin has a lot of enthusiasm. It comes through during the writing. Good stuff. Alright. No giving up now. She didn't even do him the courtesy. Alright, can you spell from that, computer? Good job, computer. I'm going to give you a raise, computer, for your spelling abilities. No giving up now. She didn't even do him the courtesy of looking at him. Let's go. Alright. I'm going to lurk for a little bit while I grab some food. Good luck with your words. Thanks so much. Feel free. Have a good num num. Appreciate you guys dropping in. Okay. They did go. They did continue on. Waldo really didn't have much choice unless she let him borrow one of her weapons. He supposed he could take off the backpack and step off the side. That was no guarantee either. The sun dipped toward the west, with the mountains darkness would fall quickly. Right now I live on the East Coast, and East Coast United States, and I've lived in hung out in the mountains a good bit here, like Appalachian Mountains and so forth. And both places the sun sets quickly. Now, here on the East Coast, it's partly because of time zones. The time zone for eastern United States that goes through South Carolina and Georgia is 400 or 500 miles wide. So we're in the same time zone as Atlanta, even though I'm all the way over on the ocean. And so it gets dark quick, and especially this time of year. And then, of course, if you're up in the mountains or you're down in a valley between mountains, like the sun setting, you're going to get into darkness pretty quickly, even when it's not truly at the horizon yet. So just throwing that into the story. Zombies wandered out into the road. The clothes, let's see, their clothes filled with holes. Now let's say thin. Can add some detail here. Thin and filled with holes from years of wandering through the elements. Their skin was as torn. Their skin was as torn as the rags still on them from moving through the underbrush. Off the road. All right. Live up north. Who only have 6. There you go. Yeah, that is true. We're in the subtropical regions here, so that or temperate regions. That's very different. I remember going to London back in the 90s, and it was summertime. And of course, you obviously you learn geography and you understand where everything is, but there's just something about London that makes me forget how far north it is. And I'm going around the city at night, and kind of my goal, because I was there by myself, was to kind of get back to my hotel before dark, because I didn't want to be wandering the city alone at night when I didn't have anything to do. But I kept noticing the dark was coming late, because it was like 10 o'clock at night, but it was still daylight. And finally, I figured out it was the geography, but I'd been ignorant that was what London went through. Weird says, I'm in the foothills east of the mountains. I know the quick dark feeling. Of course, in the summer is the opposite. Live some latitude as same latitude as Glasgow, Scotland. Yeah. So that's something I don't experience at my latitude. The vast difference between the summer months and the winter months of the year. All right. Let's see. Lexus pulled her strange knife, but Waldo moved up ahead of her. There weren't many of them. They sort of turned toward him in a lazy way. He was sure they would feast on him given the chance, but their slow movements almost made it seem a casual summer sun goes down 11:30 in the evening and comes up at 4:30. Good grief. I guess that'd be nice. It'd be the reverse that would kind of get to me. He was sure they would feast on him given a chance, let's say. But their slow movements almost made the desire seem casual. He was slowly becoming one of them after all. Waldo met the first one in the group with a closed fist. Waldo met the first one in the group with a closed fist to the bridge of its nose. The skin over its face tore as easily as its remaining clothing. He didn't finish it with one punch, but he took it off its feet. Alright, well, let me spell that correctly while I'm here. Alright, Kedman says, and here we have a period of what I call afterlight. There, the light of the sun still is visible, even if the sun has passed down the horizon or just before the sun comes up over the other side. There you go. And I've heard, depending on where you are in the world, you get a lot of that, where it's not ever truly night during certain times of the year. He didn't finish it with one punch, but he took it off its feet. He dealt with the others the same way. As he took them down, he seized them by their heads and slammed the back of their skulls into the road until they finally opened and spilled their contents. The first one started to rise again. Zombies always did if you gave them the chance. Alright, this may get a little gross. I apologize if that's not your thing. We are writing about zombies. Alright. He took it by a handful of its thin, brittle hair. Some of it disintegrated in his hand, making his palm itch. The rest held together, but the zombie's scalp started to peel away from the top of its sticky skull plates, with the sound of tearing Velcro. The computer's going to want me to capitalize Velcro because it thinks it's a company. Yep, there we go. All right. He let go and resorted to punching the thing in the head again. Alright, Ketman says, found a lot of Judge Dredd stuff, and I remember the Fetch Your Earth episode very clearly from the past, drawn to the gore a bit, man-eating plants and such. Not farther from the Earth, right? If it's done well, it can be as artistic as any other kind of literary writing. A like many things, it's not always done well, and it often isn't done well. So I'm not making any claims about the literary value of this particular story, but we'll see what I can do with it. Maybe I can punch it up in the editing a little bit. He let go and resorted to punching the thing in the head again. As its features lost their shape, it kept working its jaw. Let's say jaws. Trying to get a piece of its attacker. The skull finally split. Let's say the exposed skull, because we already exposed it. The exposed skull finally split across the top. The zombie kept reaching, so Waldo kept punching with no sense of the passage of time. A chunk of rotten brain tumbled out. The zombie paused, as if considering whether that was enough to justify permanent rest. Waldo crashed his fist through the fissure. Turning the brain into a paste somewhere between the consistency of jelly and clay. The beast went down, but Waldo kept on. The bones separated. The flesh pulverized, and he punched on at the puddle of gore where the head used to be. Spattering himself. Some of it landed in the raw bite marks of his wound, but he continued. Maybe that might accelerate his change. All right. Maybe that might accelerate his change. But it made no difference to him in this state. My wife just texted me that she's coming home with Chinese food, so that's motivation to keep myself moving along here. Maybe that might accelerate his change, but it made no difference to him in this state. Finally, he paused. Nice, Armand said. That's something Armand appreciates. Finally, he paused. with his fist raised and painted the dark colors of zombie brains. He blinked as if rising out of a fugue state. I spelled it right on the first try. Somebody should give me an award for that. A fugue state. Lexus stood over him, still holding her blade ready, with no one to use it on except him. She sheathed it instead of ending him yet. Waldo stood, shook a little. How big is this chapter? Probably not very. I might split it here soon, but I got a little bit more to go. Waldo stood, shook a little of the gore off his fist, and started walking. They continued on together without speaking. I'm going to go ahead and break that chapter. I may decide differently. That was a whole new meaning in Zombie Apocalypse. Achievement unlocked. Just a few get it. There you go. There are certain words that I just do not expect myself to spell right, and when I guess correctly, I'm as surprised as anyone. All right, so we're in chapter 24, believe it or not. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. I'm almost to 47.5, so my choice is to push on today or to finish tomorrow. So I'm going to come to a stopping point, and then tomorrow's writing will just be about finishing the story and not about the word count. All right. Let me have her say something. Ready to go, Bloodfist. All right, so we'll get to 45 here. How far is that? Okay, I keep rechecking my notes here because I'm trying to pace out the rest of the story. I don't mind going over 50,000, but wasn't sure how far over I'm going to go. Waldo made it farther than he ever expected. There was something to be said about putting one foot in front of the other when you had nothing left to lose. They stopped at a shallow creek. That passed through a pipe under this side street. Waldo knelt and splashed a little in his face. It felt good. but the heat was coming from the inside. So there was only so much he could do about it. He didn't realize he was about to doze off until he felt himself tilting forward toward the water with his eyes closed. He jolted awake and sucked in air through his teeth. As he got his bearings and stood, he realized Lexus had grabbed him by the collar to keep him from falling in. That might have been a refreshing fall, though. They returned to the road. And walked on. All right, I'm going to add something up there because I wanted to do more with this. Alright. As he got his bearings and stood, let me move that. No, let's not have him stand. As he got his bearings, he realized Alexis had grabbed him by the collar to keep him from falling in. That might have been a refreshing fall, though. Waldo splashed water over his skin and washed away as much of the gore as he could. He hoped anyone downstream was boiling their water. He couldn't get all the muck off his right arm. He'd probably need one of those lava soaps the mechanics always used. He cleaned his wound too, even though it would make no difference in the end. Washing himself off at least made him feel human again. That was something he wanted for his final moments as a human. Okay. Then they return to the road. Okay. And that puts me at 47.5. So I'm going to stop there. And tomorrow's final NaNoWriMo session is going to be a little bit of a marathon run there. I'll try to do my best not to embellish on my notes too much and just finish the story, and then I can add and subtract in editing as much as I want. So I'm satisfied with that. I'm at 47,564. Let me pull up my NaNoWriMo page. Once again, 47,564. 47,564. All right. So we will get 47,564. Now, I'm satisfied with that. One day, instead of writing 42,000, I wrote 420,000. So I just completely broke my Nano tracker. I can follow it in stats, but it just gave me a whole bunch of badges that I didn't really earn. So if you ever want to just really blow away Nano, you just lie. Just write down this ridiculously large number, and it'll heap praise upon you. Going to take a quick look at a few of my buddies, just the ones who gave me permission to look at what they've done. Oscar Jones, of course, is already finished. Ryan Pelton has done a great job. He has jumped forward, and he's at 45,289 words. That's a huge jump from yesterday, and he hasn't even put in today's numbers yet. Yeah. Weird was there for the great brokening. Whew, that was so confusing. I clipped a video of that for YouTube where my confused face is just staring at the screen trying to make sense of the universe again. All right, so good job, Ryan. You are plowing on through, and you are close to being finished. Tom Duffy is going to update here soon, I'm sure. Let's see how he has done. Oh, Armand is already updated. Let's take a quick look at him. Armand is another streamer who just made affiliate in the last few days, so he's been working very hard. Has a good fan base already, and bringing it over to Twitch has been fun, and I've enjoyed being in his streams and in his chats. So he's writing Man Down, First Coast Thrillers, Book 3. He had a bunch of projects going on at once, and only recently was able to finally focus on his NaNoWriMo book. But he's already at 41,267, and those are huge, like multi-thousand word jumps from previously. So he's going to plow through this pretty well, and the book itself is going to be more than 50,000 words from what I understand. So he's going to continue on past that. But very good job with all that progress. All right, let's see if we got a couple more folks we might take a peek at. A friend of mine who just came on as my buddy and gave me permission to check out his work is Thomas Clark. I'm a big fan of Thomas Clark. He has a book called... You're welcome, Armand. He has a book called Good Boy that has like animals surviving the zombie apocalypse, and it's sort of like a Watership Down meets the zombie apocalypse kind of thing, but it's with dogs. I really enjoy that. And then he's written some cosmic horror stuff, and just has put a lot of work into his craft. What would probably be considered maybe early in his career. He's been doing this a while, I think, but has been publishing more recently. So he's writing a story called Summer Home, it appears. That's horror and supernatural, and he is at 31,000 words. So very good job, Thomas Clark, and I'll keep track of you as we go forward through the rest of the month. All right, so that's encouraging to see some folks making progress there. All right. I've had a few people say that the only reason they make sure to write some things and update is because they don't want me checking their want me checking their NaNoWriMo and seeing they hadn't done anything. So I always keep it positive, though. I'm not going to scold anyone on the air, but I do kind of pass over folks that need a little more time. And I'm always a big proponent of authors or writers and authors forgiving themselves. If you have a rough day and you just don't have it in you one day, as long as you're not skipping all the time, then it's good. Accountability is good, but also I think forgiveness is something that authors don't do for themselves as much. We kind of have those bad days that we don't meet our goals, and it kind of hangs over us the entire week or as we go forward. And I think we would do better if we kind of let those days go. So if we have a day where we don't get it done, if that just becomes the past and we don't think about it anymore, we do very well. But always want to encourage and not discourage. Yeah, everybody needs a break. Some people need to do a better job of scheduling breaks in. Most of the times, a writer will only take a break when they burn out. So not only are they finally getting their break, but they feel bad about their break. Whereas, like, if you actually schedule in, like, after I got a few more days after I'm done with Nano that I got to wrap some things up. I had some edits come back from a publisher that I really need to get done, but I'm taking a break through the rest of November. Then I'll still come on and stream, but I'm not doing the daily writing beyond my regular streams. And then same thing with December. I'm going to work about 10 days into December and then kind of cut it off, except for a few writing streams, and then pick back up a few days before the new year. And planning those in on purpose instead of just burning out and feeling bad about my breaks, I think is good. Armand says I'll write a little tomorrow morning, but then I'm on birthday vacation until Sunday night, when I will write a little more to keep going every day this month. Very good job, man. And I forgot your birthday was coming up. Happy birthday. You're right around American Thanksgiving with your birthday. Been taking breaks and revising writing for Nano, Weird says. Kedman says some decorate a lot of their holiday streams. We'll do that. We do that too, Jay. I don't think I'm going to do anything decorative. I am my normal schedule is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Thursdays are watch parties. I don't anticipate I'm going to be doing Christmas movies. I have a couple non-horror type movies that I do want to watch. I did a bunch of horror movies in October, and I'm looking forward to getting to some in a different genre. Starborn says I'm going to take 2 weeks off for Christmas and New Year's. I think we earned it. I mean, how much do you need to write before you've earned your break? So we need to do that some more. Some lights at the door behind you. Oh, okay, I get what you're saying. Maybe put up a tree over here. I'll talk to my wife about it. That'd be good. Let's talk about Daniel Volpe real quick. He's at 15,000 words. Now, he started Nano like 10 minutes ago. He's one of those guys that just decided to start halfway through the month, and he's done this much in like 2, 3, 4 days maybe. His story is Plastic Monsters. He decided he needed his own genre, so he calls it Violent AF, and which describes his work very well. And he's over 15,000 words, which is thousands of words more than what he had yesterday. So he's on it. Dead Sushi is a great movie. I'm going to check that out. All right, so let's see if there's anyone else we want to look at before we call it a day and I go eat some Chinese food. So Daniel's done well. Lots of people are doing well. Oh, he's updated a couple times today. Let me pull him up. All right. J.C. Walsh is a author that I like very much. Death's Highway is a book that he's had. He's fairly new. He's done some short stories that I really enjoy. He's doing He's working on 2 novellas that if I had to guess, I would say that they lean into cosmic horror. He's listed them as horror and supernatural, and he's jumped by over 1,000 words since last time I checked. So he got some writing in today, it looks like, probably during break time at work and that kind of thing. So I want to praise him. Very good job, JC, and just keep that up. I like what you write, and I look forward to seeing it when you're finished.